today's topic, wedding planning burnout. Doesn't sound super sexy, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, but I'm telling you, from what I've experienced just bringing this conversation up, so many people out there have this. When I went to Reddit to look up stories to talk to you about, it was wedding planning burnout, wedding planning fatigue, so many different posts all about the same kind of feeling and topics. So I knew it was like, okay, we have to record an episode about this with Priscilla just because it is such a, I'm finding how many people are experiencing this and I want people to have their joy back. So let's make that happen for people.
Yeah, let's do it.
What's up, Bridal Babes? I hope you're ready to talk weddings with me on another episode of Bridal Buzz. I'm your host, Kat, and before we get into today's episode, quick update, happy 2023, yay! And if you listened to our last episode, I just want to say we've already changed a couple things in the studio since then. I know we wanted to launch the look, but it is what it is. And so welcome to the new studio. Just a couple of changes. And we decided we're going to do a part 2 to that episode for the 2023 wedding trend predictions, just because we had so many things we did not get to cover in that episode. So stay tuned for more trend predictions coming up. But okay, today's episode, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. My name is Priscilla Rodriguez. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of Texas. I offer online courses for engaged couples, and all couples who take these courses learn all the different ways to develop a strong foundation in their relationship, from communication, intimacy. So pretty much talking about everything, getting ready for your marriage.
So all the deep, intimate topics. Love it.
So being a relationship therapist and marriage counselor, I see couples, of course, we've been married for years, but I saw a huge need for couples who are in the beginning stages of their relationship, especially getting ready to say I do. So that's a huge passion of mine, just being able to share just some really easy to do relationship tips that I feel like not many people talk about. So.
Right, like action points and things. Right. Yes, love it. And if you guys have been listening, you've probably heard Priscilla's episodes here and there. We call them the Couples Corner episodes. So she will still be coming in the studio at least once a quarter to offer all of her rich goodness that she has just built from your years of experience and your expertise. So today's topic, wedding planning burnout. So many people out there have this.
Yeah, it's such a big thing that people don't really mention or prepare you for.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So from my own experience, I guess I was like 8 months into my wedding planning, and I really started to feel it. And it came from not the lack of enjoying the wedding planning itself, but just expectations that weren't being met with, honestly, just family dynamics. There were certain people that I really wanted to be able to stay on site with us for the weekend wedding experience. They decided they're not going to stay. And just little things like that. And so I've had to deal with the emotion behind that and removing that from my wedding planning experience, forming boundaries within myself in these relationships of how much am I giving these people that I need to reclaim for myself. Had a bunch of from day one there's been drama in the wedding planning, but it really hit me hard, and I was cry for help. Somebody help me, somebody tell me what's going on and how to get out of this funk. And it honestly came down to my parents being you need your joy back. Whatever is stealing your joy from you right now, we're not allowing that to be a part of your life anymore. And I was whoa, okay, I need to reclaim my joy. I'm allowing these people and these moments to steal what should be not the best day of my life, but one of the biggest days of my life. And I'm done with that. So I really, really want to have you just help everyone else get to that point as well, to just reclaim their joy and have fun in their wedding planning. So you wrote a blog about it. That's we can put the link on this episode for that. But why don't you just tell me a little bit about what you think wedding planning burnout is and where it's coming from?
Yeah. So just like a way to identify if you are experiencing wedding planning burnout, because I even heard you say that like you were experiencing like all these different emotions, and it was kind of like someone else outside being like, hey, like kind of having to stop you in your tracks.
Yeah,
right?
They had to wake me up.
Right. Because I think it can be anything from, being very cynical about it, just kind of not caring, kind of now even taking it on like personally of like, what's wrong with me or what's wrong, what's going on, what's happened.
Yeah.
So I think there's like so many questions because you go in really excited, right? You just said I do.
Yeah.
And
everybody's like, oh, let me see the ring.
And, right. There's like so much attention and so much like excitement about like the planning and Pinterest and Instagram and kind of just seeing all the ideas, right?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you just hit this wall of I don't like, here's another notification. I don't want to stay with it. Someone's texting me about this. I don't care. Right. And all of a sudden you just feel like this like dullness. So it really is just having to identify and notice like that shift. And it can really just kind of like slowly creep in to the point that it's not like quick.
Yeah.
Right. So like it's really important to just constantly be checking in with yourself of where am I at right now, right? And even just in general, outside of wedding planning, like it's just the constant like emotional check-in. But that's going to be super helpful, especially when you have all these deadlines coming up, all these meetings, all these like, everything's being scheduled, checking in with your bridal party, right? There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
And it's important just not to forget about you and how are you feeling. And I think sometimes there's that part of, oh, wedding planning, it's stressful, right? And it's just like, accept it. But it's like, well, like you can accept it to an extent, but not to the point where you're like hating everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, like just because it's widely understood that wedding planning is stressful doesn't mean it has to be stressful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a difference between like this event was stressful versus like my entire wedding planning, like these months and months and months I've been experiencing like chronic stress. Right.
Yeah.
So like there's a difference between there.
Yeah. Do you think there are certain kinds of people who are more prone to this kind of wedding planning burnout?
I think it was like maybe not necessarily like personality, but probably like if you're more like a perfectionist or if you're more like anxiety prone. Anxiety prone or kind of just like worrying a lot. Because this is important. Right? Your wedding is important. You've been looking forward to it for a very long time, even before you got engaged, most likely. And you want things to go well, right? Like you mentioned, like it's a big day for just about anyone who's getting married or going to have a wedding. So there is that part of like, how much is it on your mind that is going to just slowly kind of take over, especially if things aren't going according to plan.
Yeah. I feel like that's all coming down to like your energy being spent on the wrong parts and that just depletes you.
Right.
Like, because you're not focused on the happy and like, it's going to be okay. Like they don't have the perfect shade of maroon, but burgundy's just close enough. Like, but those little things can contribute to that burnout if we're not paying attention to where our head's going in those moments.
Yeah.
What do you think are some good ways to deal with burnout?
Yeah, you mentioned a really good one that I want to like highlight, which is boundaries. Boundaries with yourself, boundaries with other people, and just noticing like how much can I take on. Good one with yourself is kind of even putting like, hey, I'm just going to look at my Pinterest board 2 times a week. And that's it. Right? Like putting a timer on something of how often you're thinking, and talking about the wedding and wedding planning, because there's a part of just kind of sometimes pressing pause of, this weekend, we're just going to relax. We're not going to talk about anything wedding. If I start thinking about the wedding, like, this is what I can do. Right? Kind of having like a plan of action for yourself.
This one's really hard for me because I work 9 to 5 in weddings. And so when I get home, all of my feeds are like curated toward weddings and I'm logged into all of these wedding accounts. The other day, Jackson was like looking over my shoulder at what I was scrolling at and he was like, oh, you must never get a break from weddings. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for reminding me that I just got home from work and I'm still just in weddings all the time. So I have had to like have hours where I just leave my phone. Like I'll get home and I'm like, where's my phone? I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not touching it until I plug it in, because I just have to allow myself to have that time where I'm not even tempted to scroll, to look, to engage, because
Right.
Yeah, that one's a hard one.
Yeah. And our phones, like once you search for something, right, it's all just like targeted, right, regardless of what you're looking at.
Even the ads.
Yeah. So just being very aware of like, okay, can I go for a walk? Can I play with my dog? Can I watch a movie? Can I cook? Right? Like just doing something else that's for you, that you enjoy, versus it just kind of being this like mind numbing, and before you even know, you're like, oh, I'm looking at wedding planning stuff and being influenced of maybe I should add that to the list.
Yeah. And
right?
like have all these negative emotions stirring up, and it's like, wait, what? Like if this is what I'm feeling right now, I need to remove myself and give myself a little bit of some boundaries and break time. Yeah. So what else?
Definitely leaning on your support system.
Okay.
So whether that, like, I heard you say like your parents were someone who was like, hey, like,
Reality
think about
check.
your joy, right? Like, hey, this is kind of robbing you of what's, important. So leaning on your support system, if you can, like, delegate, just get it off your plate.
Yeah.
And when I say delegate, it's delegate all of it, not delegate and then micromanage.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's like, you chose what? Like, you chose this font over this font, and they look very, very similar, right?
It's like, you told them to do it.
Right.
You have to let them do it.
Yeah. So there's that perfectionist part kind of taking over, or like that anxiety piece. So just being very aware of, what can I let go?
Yeah.
And know that these people that you're trusting, like, are excited for you.
Yeah.
Right? So like,
they want to help you.
Yeah, they want to help. They're asking you, let me know, right? And just because if not, it's all falling on you. And majority of people who are planning a wedding too, still need to maintain their home, are still, taking care of themselves, are still working.
And,
like, some people have families. So it's just like, there's so much, like, there's a lot else going on. So it's a matter of just like knowing like, hey, my support system is here, and how can I let them help?
Yeah. I feel like it all comes down to energy management.
Right. Yeah.
And just knowing. Also, I'm like, these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses. Recently, I love the creative side of wedding planning, but when it comes down to making phone calls and sending emails and just like all of these other sides, I'm like, Mom, can you please help me out? Because I was taking on a lot for myself at the front end, because I'm connected to a lot of wedding vendors. I didn't need my mom to be reaching out and forming these conversations, but now I'm like, if I have to call, like, I love you guys, but if I have to call another wedding vendor or like send another email for a quote, like I'm going to cry, because I just am at that point where I can't do it anymore.
Right.
And so I'm delegating that, but I'm still allowing myself to have like the fun moments. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Where with like all the design and things like that, where like that's what gives me joy. Yeah. And so I'm reclaiming the moments in my wedding planning that I want to be invested in, and then allowing, again, my support system to fill in the gaps where I'm just like, please don't make me do this.
Right.
So that has definitely been helpful for sure.
Good.
Yeah. And keep giving me some more good stuff on this.
Yeah. So another one too is like with family and friends, like they're going to naturally just ask you, how's the wedding planning going? Or like, what else are y'all doing? What else do you need? Right. And it's okay to let them know, being honest of, it's actually really stressful, but right now I'd rather not talk about that. Like how are you doing?
Yeah. Want to talk about anything else right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or if they're like continuing like to ask, right? Like that's when you can also take, maybe even like offer like, it is really stressful, but actually like next week can we meet up and, maybe you can help do XYZ, right? Like, cause they're showing that interest. Especially if they're constantly asking, and it's okay, right? They're probably going to do that.
They're asking because they love you, probably,
right?
Or they're just nosy.
Yeah. And it's like, here, take this.
Yeah.
Right?
So nosy, help me plan this part. Thank you.
Right. So like, I think it is, definitely okay to let them know, I don't want to talk about it right now. Let's just enjoy our meal, or let's just enjoy this show that we're, concert, whatever it is that you're doing. Or just definitely asking for help from them.
I feel like I saw a lot of TikTok videos around Thanksgiving that were like, me on my way to Thanksgiving dinner, about to tell them not to bring up my wedding planning, or like reminding them that I'm not about to have a conversation about having kids. Like, I just got married a month ago. Like, there's just so many moments in life where we have to set those boundaries with family and just say, not today. And I like what you said, like maybe next week, like maybe I don't want to talk about it right now, but I would actually love your help after I take this mental break that I'm giving myself. So yeah, just knowing your own boundaries, what you're looking for, and allowing people to fill in those gaps for sure. Is there anything else you would add to before we get into reading those real stories and getting your feedback on those, just to the general topic of how to cope with burnout, how to move past that phase?
Yeah. A big one is just prioritizing your own health, physical, emotional, mental health.
Yeah.
Right. If you need to speak, reach out to a mental health therapist, someone who can just help with just some coping strategies in general with burnout. Chances are, if you're experiencing burnout with wedding planning, there's going to be a lot of other big events in your life that burnout could also happen, whether it's with a new job, maybe a job that you've been wanting, and all of a sudden you're in and it's like, oh, I actually hate this, right? Or I'm so tired, right? Whether it's starting a family, whether it's buying a new home, right? Like, stressors are part of life, and it's just a matter of learning how to manage them and implementing healthy coping skills. So if needed, reaching out to a mental health therapist who can just help you learn these like very essential coping skills that you can implement.
Party too.
And a lot of them are kind of side plug in those online courses. So if you don't want to schedule a session, you can always still get those in the online courses.
Yes, and you have some that are paid packages, but you also have some free templates for people to work through as well, right? I love that. So my bachelorette party is right around the corner, and I was starting to get very overwhelmed with all the outfit ideas, the decor ideas, everything that goes into planning a amazing bachelorette party weekend. And that is why I'm so glad that I remembered about the batch box. Batch boxes can be sent straight to your bachelorette party's door, and they're full of fun decor, accessories for you and your bridesmaids, and all the little knickknacks you need to make your batch party unique. The batch box has super fun themed boxes already ready for you to order, like the Let's Get Nasty box or the You Can't Sip With Us box. I love it. Or you can go ahead and let them know what your custom theme idea is, and they will fill your box full of all the things you need for you and 4 of your besties to have the time of your life on your bachelorette weekend. If you have more than that, you can always order 2. And that's why I'm so excited that they're going to be offering all of you bridal babes 10% off with the code BatchBox10. So head to thebatchbox.com and explore all of the fun batch boxes that you can get for your bachelorette party. They also have a bunch of fun extra goodies that you can add on, like decor items and accessories for your crew, in case you're not looking to get a whole box. But you can still use that code BatchBox10 at thebatchbox.com for 10% off of your purchase. So head there today to get something fun for your bachelorette party. Okay, so let's get into some of these stories. And also, just piggybacking, 10 out of 10 would recommend therapy. Yeah, we stand for that here. Yeah. Okay, so I want to read you a couple of responses I got from bridal babes when I brought this topic up on our stories. So one of them said, all of this. I really think a lot of girls can relate. Getting married next week, and I 1000% have felt all of these emotions and have dealt with these similar situations. You are not alone. I was once told that funerals and weddings always bring out the family drama.
So true.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
It's just so many different emotions that pop up. All of a sudden you have a lot of people come together. And a lot of people who want to share how to go through this.
Yeah, they all have their strong opinions.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So whether it's about the actual event, about what to do after the event, right? How to manage this new relationship. Weddings, you're kind of, for the most part, gaining, right? Some people will see it as a loss, I guess. In a funeral, there's also that part too, where it's there's this grief and losing, and then for some people, there's this kind of gain, right? But I think there's kind of that attachment shift that happens in both situations.
Yeah. Having to change your perspective and your attempt on control over those situations too is
Yeah.
Another bridal babe said, I felt it so bad at about the year mark because I was constantly being asked if I was ready. Did you do this or that? Our planning was done early on because that's just how I am. So there wasn't any new information to share. I know they came from a good place, but it was a little annoying and I felt almost ungrateful. Like that I should just be so excited and over the moon, even though we had already planned for a year and a half, LOL. The few brand deals I did and listening to wedding podcasts helped a lot with the burnout because it was someone else's problem to listen to or funny story or whatever, and it wasn't mine. I also started to look up other random things that brought me joy on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest so that my For You page shifted from constant unattainable wedding ideas or trends. Also starting to look at the little things the closer it gets reminded me how important it was to stay focused, like the music, the color of the cutlery, etc. Looking at my vendors' Instagrams helped too because I saw what I could have in X amount of days or months. It was a good reminder, number one, to be thankful I can plan a wedding, and number two, to be in love during this process instead of a constant planning mode. Number three, to visualize my day and remember what the planning is for. She hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, being very intentional as to why are you doing this?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I like her number two of like being in love during that, instead of just like wedding planning mode.
Yeah, that gave me chills. It's like that is literally the most important part about all of this. And I feel like a common thread I read in these wedding planning burnout situations is I wish I would have just gotten married at the courthouse with me and my parents and not made such a big deal out of it. And so I wonder if there is something to like the kind of person that experiences this too, like they are okay with the simple things in life, and weddings are just so complicated and they like don't care about the complications, and like all of these complications are just not their vibe. That like I feel like that. I'm like, I like a good party, but I also I'm like, I wish I would have just gone to the beach and eloped with my fiance, and like it has just became so complicated. And I'm glad I'm planning a wedding, right? Like she said in here, like, not everybody has that opportunity to be able to plan an event of this caliber. Some people, their only option is to go to the courthouse. And so I think the reminder to be grateful, but also not feel, like she said, it's like you almost feel bad that you're not feeling grateful in that moment. Like, and I wonder if there's anything you can offer to that of like this feeling of like, am I ungrateful for not celebrating while other people are celebrating? Like, why am I not as excited as them? Like, where's that coming from and how do they get through that?
Yeah. And I think there's like this idea of like, what does excited mean? My husband and I we always joke because like it takes a lot for us to be like, like over the moon. Awesome. Yeah. Like, most of the time it's like, wow, I'm excited. Like that's it. And I think it's just like that part of like recognizing like it's okay, like, as long as you know that you're like happy, you're content, there's still some joy there. You're not hating everything and everyone, right? Like other people have different emotions and express it very differently. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or there's something wrong with you if you're not jumping up and down 24/7 leading up to your wedding. And there's going to be fluctuations when you are ecstatic versus just like happy. Right? And
like feeling content is totally cool.
Yeah. And just even like being calm and at ease, right? That I would even consider that like, in the happy zone, right? That you're just like comfortable and kind of like patiently waiting. Right? I mean, especially planning a year and a half in advance, like you're kind of just like, enjoying life at that point, like just kind of waiting kind of down the days. So I think there is that part of like, you can still be grateful of just that idea of like, I can't wait. And that's it.
And that's okay.
That's okay. Like, so I think,
and like I've already spent all of my over the top excited energy way long ago, like when the ring was put on my finger, and just because I'm not feeling that right now doesn't mean anything's wrong. And I feel like there's also this common question of like, am I feeling this anxiety toward the wedding, or am I feeling this anxiety toward the idea of marriage itself?
Right.
So how would you guide somebody through differentiating those emotions.
Yeah. Thinking about when those emotions pop up, are you anxious when you think about like the actual wedding planning? Like if you were to take a break from wedding planning, how would you feel? Right? If you were to take a break from like, hey, this next month, it's the holidays, let's just enjoy each other.
Like, that sounds good.
Right? Like, yeah, the wedding's maybe in 6 months, but hey, like, it's still going to be there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you feel in those moments? Like, do you feel this sense of like, when it's just us hanging out, going to the movies, going to dinner, it feels easy and it's calm, then it's probably just about the wedding
itself,
planning. Yeah. And if it's more so about like the wedding planning is actually an escape from the stress within the relationship, then there's probably something happening within the relationship that should be addressed.
That sounds like the least ideal situation.
Right. Yeah. If you're escaping something really hectic into something that is also hectic.
Yeah. And that other hectic thing is providing a union for this other hectic thing. Lots of hectic energy.
Yeah. See a marriage counselor, premarital counseling.
Yeah. Modern wellness counseling is here to help. Okay. So last story from one of the bridal babes is, this is so very important to note. Like most of the things that quote go wrong have literally nothing to do with you. I had a huge dramatic event that occurred with a family member who wasn't invited due to a toxic relationship, and it is hurting other family members, and I totally get it. But we have to remember a lot is out of our control, and this is exactly right. It is about marrying the love of your life and truly nothing else. I have had to let go of so many ideas of my day being perfect and get used to the idea that I'm marrying the man of my dreams, and that's what matters the most. I also lost my engagement ring, which is so embarrassing and upsetting because I won't have a ring for my wedding day. It seems like it's one thing after another, but in the end, it will all be okay. And I do want to let you guys know, bridal babes, do not stress out. I did talk to this bridal babe, and they are getting like a temporary replacement ring.
Oh, yeah.
The company is letting them wear it for the wedding while they replace her actual ring. So I was literally like, what can I do? Where, like, I'm going to go get you an engagement ring right now. Like, how could I help? So yeah. But the family stuff, again, that's been the most painful thing for me, because you want people to be able to put aside their own, wishes, their own differences for an event like this. And unfortunately, in some circumstances, people just can't do that. Yeah. I have a family member who, I don't know why they're in this state. I don't know, like, I don't want to put it out there of like what they're dealing with, but I don't think it's coming from a healthy place. And they're projecting all of their opinions onto my relationship, not just my wedding, my relationship. And I've been with my partner for going on 7 years. And they waited until I was engaged to share all these opinions. And I'm like, okay, you're like literally the only one saying, like, if I had other family members saying what they were saying, I would, draw some concerns. But my other family members love Jackson. They've seen us go through so much together, and they know that we've grown. They've seen that growth, and my dad gave Jackson his permission to propose. And so I'm not worried about that. And it hurts me that I have a family member that is putting their own opinions of whatever they're thinking before their love for me and their want to support just me in general. So it has been very hard.
It's so challenging, especially when it's like that part, like, I hear you saying kind of this, like, you're able to differentiate, like, okay, they're projecting something, like, this is something that they're going through, but it still doesn't mean that it's not hurtful. Yeah, exactly. And it puts me in a really uncomfortable position, because now I feel like I have to explain myself and be like, well, no, like, this is what's actually going on in my relationship, but this person is out here saying all of these crazy wild things. And I do have a support system that is reminding me, like, I don't have to explain myself to anybody. There's no need for me to prove my relationship. But it's still just like, in this day and age, I feel like it's so easy for people to blow things out of proportion and hear one thing and never look at someone the same. And it's like, I don't want that to happen. So
Anyway, off my own soapbox.
Yeah, no,
it's been a lot to deal
tough.
with.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this person was going through a very similar thing, not being able to invite a family member, and other family members are kind of upset about it.
Yeah.
And they are establishing that boundary, saying, not my problem.
Right.
You know, I'm marrying my person, and whoever's going to be there to support us is going to be there.
Right. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that has to be like the focus of, you know, you are the ones who are putting so much effort and energy, and this is the whole purpose of the event to begin with, right? And if that's something that they're not supportive of, then don't go.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we like took the initiative to not invite you in the beginning.
Exactly.
Because
like,
it's,
so sorry.
Yeah. Like, planning a wedding shouldn't also be like this, like, you having to take initiative of like doing like family counseling for everyone. Like, it's not like,
right.
That's not an invitation to like mend all those relationships.
Yeah,
right?
like that will come in time, and that's what I've had to tell certain family members that are still dealing with what's happening with me and my other family member. I'm like, even if we were to get together and things were to be solved, quote unquote, you know, I don't think I could get to the place within 4 months to feel comfortable having that person at my wedding, just because of the things that they've said about my partner. Yeah. And it's hard for family to understand that, but I'm also like, this is not my job to now put not just this situation, but my whole life's worth of trauma with this person out in the forefront, and like, this is my season of wedding planning, not my season of healing my past traumas with this person. So like, that time will come. Give me a couple months after the wedding and maybe we can get to it. Like, but right now I have to focus on this is my priority. Yeah. So, and I'm doing this because Jackson's over there in my office right now.
And great job on setting that boundary, because it's not easy to do that, but you have to really be like, again, focusing in on like, this is like my health, like my mental, emotional health, physical health, like, and I'm choosing that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks. It's been hard. If there's one thing that's always made me nervous when thinking about becoming a bride, it's been the color of my teeth. I've never had the brightest or the whitest smile, so that's why I'm thanking God for Bride Bright. I just put in my order at bridebright.co and was so excited to see that they actually had a couples kit available. So I have a Bride Bright kit and Jackson will have a Groom's Glow kit, and I can't wait to share our results with you guys after spending our 10 minutes for 10 days on working toward a brighter and whiter smile. So if you bridal babes out there also want brighter, whiter teeth, you can use code BUZZ for 40% off your online purchases. Yes, you heard that right. BUZZ for 40% off. All you need is that 10 minutes for 10 days for you to start seeing real results on your smile. I think something like this is so worth it for wedding season, especially since we spend so much on our photography and our videography. So why not have the best, brightest, whitest smile on your big day? I'm also really excited to try their Stay Bright on the Go wipes while I'm drinking red wine for 3 days straight on my bachelorette party. So I will definitely let you guys know how that keeps my smile brighter. And again, head to bridebright.co and use the code BUZZ for 40% off of your purchase. Okay, let's get to Reddit, aka Weddit, wedding Reddit. This first one is from the wedding subreddit, and it's titled, "Anyone else going through wedding planning fatigue? I'm having trouble staying motivated to plan. I'm so excited to get married to my significant other, and I can't wait for the day of, but I'm so fatigued with picking things, shopping around, and reading contracts. I saved the florist, decor rentals, and cake baker for last, thinking I would know what I want by now. I'm 6 months in." And that's it.
Yeah, wedding fatigue, decision fatigue. Yeah, that's a big one as far as like just like knowing, okay, what do I choose? What, like, is this the right choice? Is this like, do I want to be doing this? Do I care about the flowers?
Yeah.
Right? So
it sounds like this is coming from a lot of like information overload or analysis, paralysis by analysis, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that is one of the hardest parts for me about working in weddings, is seeing the thousands of possibilities,
all like different ideas.
And I've said this once, I'll say it again, we can plan 1,000 weddings, but we just have to plan one. And like, you just got to commit to one, but sometimes it can be so hard. Like, I'm designing my invitation suite right now, and you have all these images in your head of like what it could be, and then I'm really happy with the design I got from my stationer, but it's definitely different than what I anticipated. And now I'm just going through all these like, how much energy do I put toward wanting it to change? How much energy do I put toward trusting my stationer? It's all about those boundaries and just like the energy management. I don't know if that's an actual thing, but it's going to be a thing now, and we're all going to be experts at it by the end of this show. But yeah, I think, you know, it's in here. They said it. I'm excited to get married, but I'm fatigued of picking things. Yeah. So you said decision fatigue. Is this a thing that happens no matter what? Like,
yeah, it's definitely part of burnout, just in general. Yeah. And that part of just being like tired. I mean, it is fatigue. I mean, it's that part of just being like overworked, overwhelmed, and sometimes finding it really hard to trust yourself to like, is this the right choice? Did I make the right choice? What about this other thing I just saw? Oh no, I'm scrolling. This other idea popped up. Oh shoot, what about that? Right? Didn't even think about that. Right? So it's like, at the end of the day, it's going to be okay. At the end of the day, like, it's going to be beautiful. Yeah. It's going to be your story. It's going to be, you know, kind of this part of like your relationship, and it's okay. Yeah. Right. And I think there's something, that part, like, again, like with gratitude during that moment, to just like feel that sense of ease of like, okay, like, I have a wedding invitation.
Yeah. Yes. People will be invited to my wedding.
It's still beautiful.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Does it have this ribbon over this ribbon? Like, right. Like, something I had to remind myself too when I was planning my wedding was thinking of my experience of attending other people's weddings. And I just remember being like, do I even remember what I ate on? Because I remember I was like, china, plastic, right. You know, like this, you know.
Charger, no charger.
Right. There were so many ideas. And I was like, I can't remember the last wedding I went to what I ate on.
Right. Yeah. I can't remember either. I can remember the food, like what the meal was, but I don't know if there was a charger, what color the napkin was. Yeah. Yeah. What kind of plate they served on, or the cups or anything. Yeah. So that's actually kind of crazy.
So that helped me just like focus in, okay, what is actually important for me? What do I want people to remember and enjoy on my wedding day? Yeah. Because I think you can get lost in all the little details.
For sure.
The decision fatigue really can wear you down.
I hate the decision fatigue. Yeah. And I think it does come down to like trusting yourself. Like that, for me personally, I think would be the biggest game changer in that fatigue, because you're not, again, spending so much energy over analyzing your decisions. Yeah. You just move on. You mentally check that off the list and go to the next problem or party. Right. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit longer, but it's also from the wedding subreddit, and it's called Vent Wedding Fatigue. I'm just looking for a space to talk about what I've been experiencing, not necessarily looking for advice, but I don't have another space to get this off my chest. 2022 bride here, planning a wedding for August, so this was a little while back. I've been engaged almost 2 years, and we decided to push back the wedding until COVID restrictions were lifted. It seems like things are just now getting busy, and I find that most of my free time outside of working full-time is spent talking about the wedding, planning for the wedding, and thinking about the wedding. We're about 3 months out at this point, and I'm starting to feel done with the whole thing. Is anyone else experiencing some serious burnout with planning a wedding? I find that everyone I talk to now asks me about the wedding. My upcoming months are filled with wedding-related appointments or events almost every weekend, and my bank account is pretty much dedicated to supporting this wedding. I'd always imagined a small, intimate wedding, low-key and fairly casual. However, both mine and my fiance's family, with whom we're very close, are large and wanted us to do more traditional things, in quotes. So now we're having a shag party to raise money, 2 showers, a bachelorette, a bachelor party, rehearsal dinner, wedding, and day after gathering. That's a lot. I'm so grateful my friends and family want to support us in getting married, but it's a lot, in all caps, of planning. I wanted to be hands-off with some things, like the shag, but somehow have gotten roped into taking on more of a planning role because no one is taking initiative, and unfortunately, it's my name on the tickets. So if things don't happen, people assume it's to do with me because it's, quote, my shag. I don't know what a shag is. I'm assuming this is a UK story. Yeah. And I say that a lot, but I'm assuming it's a UK thing. And by I mean my future husband and myself. And as much as people say, I'm here if you need anything, they can't be, because the bride is the go-to person for everyone. Vendors, family, wedding party, everyone comes to me with questions. They're trying to be helpful and ensure it's what I want, but a big part of me wants to just say, I don't give a rat's. Fill in the blank. It would be more work to try and delegate tasks, so it ends up on my mental workload. Not to mention the staggering costs of putting on a wedding. We live in a small town and have limited resources. Think 2 potential DJs in town, 1 flower shop, 1 rental business. So if we don't want to pay ridiculous amounts to obtain out-of-town services, who charge hundreds for travel on top of their fees, we're stuck with local vendors who can charge pretty much anything they want. I mean, where else will you go? I just spent $1,500 on rentals for the wedding. I literally rented table runners, napkins, fairy lights, and votives. Candles not included. How the F is that $1,500 worth of rentals? That's literally what they wrote. I'm done. I'm so happy to be marrying an amazing person, but I'm done with this wedding. If I were to do this over again, he and I would have said I do with only our parents and siblings. Thanks for listening to my rant.
Yeah. Wow, that's tough.
Yeah. And I think it's especially hard when it sounded like they probably had an original date and then they had to push it back.
Right.
And so they probably have gone through this phase multiple times already where it's like, oh, the wedding is in 6 months. Oh, never mind. It's in a year and a half. So I feel like that especially could be very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's so draining. And then that part of like even having like a certain like view of what they wanted.
Yes.
And then it being changed.
Yes.
And then it's just kind of like getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I feel like that's the hardest part about this whole thing is from the beginning, this OP, the original poster, didn't really establish their priority for their wedding, and they allowed their family members' priorities to be more important. Hi, Fritz. You want to join us on the couch?
Hi. He's like, I'm just going to rest my head right here.
He's like, I could tell we needed some emotional support in this studio. But yeah, I think that is one of the hardest parts for me is seeing that this is not what she wanted in the first place.
Right.
And now she's having to deal with that on top of the fact that she's like, oh, I'm just so over this so it's, I feel for this person and I hope they had an amazing wedding. I hope you did. And I hope that you got to a point where you put all of this aside and just allowed yourself to have fun on your day with your person because that is the most important part for sure.
Yeah. Something that I often share with engaged couples is to just like think of like what are like 2-3 things that are important for you on your wedding day. If everything else were to just kind of like go off the rail, like what are these like 2-3 things that are like so important and like let people know.
I love that.
Because having a wedding planner and is helpful, especially with the like go-to person and all that, but like even the day of, it's like something's gonna happen because it's life. Right?
Fritz is looking for Todd.
He's like, where is he?
You can smell. Here, Fritzy, go back there. Say hi. There you go.
Found you.
Anyway.
Yeah. So just something to keep in mind. For sure.
Yeah. Okay. I really do hope her wedding was still a good time. Yeah. But I love that. And I'm literally like going to be writing down my 3 things that as long as these things go according to plan, we're good. Yeah. I'm like, we're wearing clothes. Yeah. We're good. Jackson's at the altar. I'm good. Like, Okay. We have 2 more stories that I found on Reddit that I want your feedback on. So this one, these are, I think, all going to be from the wedding subreddit. This one is called Less Than 2 Days Left, and I'm Over It. I'm getting married on Sunday. It's a small 50-person outside wedding. We've been working hard on it this past week to tie everything together. We are both stressed out, but today is our bachelor and bachelorette. We were going to do a men versus women charter fishing offered by a good friend of ours. They own 2 charter boats, so we were going to split up, have a blast. Us girls were going to go do a few hours of fishing, then hang out downtown and go to the beach. I was so excited. Guess who went and who didn't? My fiance has been gone since 3 a.m., out fishing with 6 of his buddies. Every single one of my friends backed out. My maid of honor had a huge fit about doing this and just refused. My 4 other friends all came up with excuses on Monday, every one of them. So it's now 6 p.m. I'm at home, depressed, and trying not to have an anxiety attack while packing everything in the trailer. Oh, and to top it off, my maid of honor is bailing on me to help set up on Sunday. Why? Because she will get, quote, sweaty and need 4 hours to drive home and shower and change. We have a hotel room. Her response, I can't shower with you in the room. Like, what? So now it's just my stepdaughter and I. Oh, and I started my period 4 days early because even Mother Nature hates me. I'm just over it. I'm glad it's just a one-time thing, and now I know who I can really rely on. Thanks for the venting place.
Wow. Oh my gosh. How heartbreaking
I
that
know.
everyone just kind of backed out.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
I've been hearing some really tragic bridesmaid stories recently, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I'm like, especially when you're an adult and you are I only have 10 people that are really, really close friends in my life. I only have 6 people in my bridal party. I would be heartbroken if any of the 6 people I chose to be in my bridal party did something like this to me. Because those are the people who you think would be by your side no matter what. No matter if you're fishing or going bar hopping, you want them to be there, you know? And that's just so sad. And it sounds like that's mainly what's contributing right now to her burnout and fatigue and her hatred toward her wedding.
Yeah. I mean, because I think it's that part of in that moment, even just having fun with your close friends would be okay, a de-stressor, right? As a way to this was part of all the planning, right? I get to at least hang out with my close friends. And I'm wondering if it would have been helpful for her to reach out to her friend and be like, I really need you.
Yeah.
I really need you to be here.
Yeah. Maybe, and I don't want to put any blame on the OP, but there is this sense of you need to advocate for what you need and want. And maybe you could say, okay, well, can you guys just come hang out with me at the beach house or wherever they were so that, you know, I'm not alone all day. Yeah. If you guys don't want to go fishing, I just need you emotionally to be here for me right now, you know? So I think that is definitely an important reminder for all of us is if you don't advocate for what you're needing and what you're looking for, nobody's a mind reader as far as I'm concerned. There might be some in the world, but I've never met one.
Yeah.
And so you have to put it out into the world. You have to speak it into existence or else people just don't know. Yeah. And I'm one who doesn't like surprises, so I'm very good at advocating for what I'm looking for. I'm like, this is the exact outfits I want you guys wearing. Right. These are the places we're going. I definitely am this is what is needed. This is what we're doing because of my own traumas from the past. I'm I have to put it out there. I've been through it. But yeah, it just breaks my heart. And I hope that she isn't attaching this emotion to her wedding. But it does sound like, you know, her maid of honor is not only backing out of her bachelorette party, but she's backing out of being a maid of honor essentially. Sounds like it's a DIY wedding. Yeah. And she needs all the help she can get. And as a maid of honor, if you have to be sweaty at the aisle because you didn't have time to shower, that's your job. Right. Be sweaty. Yeah. You know, it's going to be okay. And you are not the priority on the wedding day. And yeah, I'm not even going to get into the whole she can't shower with her in the room because that's a her thing. That has nothing to do with burnout. So, but yeah, it's just, you know, and then for there to be 2 days before the wedding and for her to be I'm about to have an anxiety attack. Yeah. And the only place I know to go is Reddit because, I mean, I don't know where she's at in her life. Sounds like she already has a daughter. Maybe her parents aren't as involved. She doesn't have the same kind of support system. That is so hard too. That alone, that she's having to go to Reddit to find support and doesn't have that real in person, like from her bridal party or from her family. Oh, that's so painful. And the period thing, I'm like, that's the bright red cherry on top.
Yeah, right.
I would literally be so stressed if that happened to me. But that's out of my control, you know? It's just one of those things where it's like, that's not on my top 3, you know? It's okay. If it happens, it happens. So whatever. If there's one thing that we all know and understand about weddings, it's that there's a lot to learn in not a lot of time. That's why I love Nicole Mara's jewelry and services. Working with gemologist Nikki at Nicole Mara is like taking the funnest crash course on gems and metals that you could ever have, all while shopping for your own jewelry. And Nikki is offering 10% off wedding bands when you mention Bridal Buzz during your consultation. Nikki has amazing band options that you can browse through on her website, NicoleMara.com, but you can also work with her to create something custom to your liking. Consultations are super easy to set up and are such an incredible way to get connected to the woman behind the brand who is potentially designing your band. How cool is that? So if you're looking for those timeless, unique wedding bands, make sure you head to NicoleMara.com today, schedule your consultation, and mention Bridal Buzz for 10% off of those bands. Again, mention Bridal Buzz for 10% off of those bands. Okay, last story, and then we'll have to wrap up this episode. Okay, title, How to Remain Excited but Present During a Long Engagement. Me and my fiance are getting married in late 2024, and so are many other people I saw. Congrats if you are. However, I wanted to ask for some advice on how to remain excited for the wedding, but also present during the waiting period. If I mention anything wedding related to anyone besides my fiance, I'm always told, calm down your excitement. You have 2.5 years left to think about all that. Or we can talk more about that closer to the date. And hearing that can sometimes be hurtful, considering I see so many other brides have good conversations with their families during their engagements, whether they're long or short. And please know that I completely understand that talking about a wedding this early on can sometimes annoy or stress people out. I just will accidentally mention something about being excited for that year or being excited to choose my dress later next year or doing our engagement photos next year. And it just makes them think I'm being too excited and need to chill and then won't want me to mention it again. Even if I'm not talking with others, which isn't that often, I'll accidentally find myself looking at Pinterest ideas for my wedding or maybe fun wedding videos that make me happy and excited. Also, to quickly clarify, I haven't booked anything yet and don't plan to for a good bit. I have a venue in mind, but we're not booking anything until late 2022, early 2023 due to venues booking quickly. But I'm worried of possibly causing wedding fatigue or losing my excitement closer to the date because I looked so much into it too early. I also just really don't want to annoy anyone anymore by expressing my excitement too much by accident. And I heard a bride once say, you can be excited and present while waiting for your wedding. And that really stuck with me, and I really want to know how to do just that. So if anyone out there, regardless of how long you are or have been engaged, has any advice to help me or anyone who struggles with wedding patience, stay present between now and the wedding day, I would appreciate it so very much, and thank you in advance.
Wedding patience. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I also feel like kind of really, really bad for her that like people are like,
I know,
calm down, like hold your horses.
Who are these people? Like this, I feel like this is the opposite of what the other stories were, where it's like everybody's been just so excited, and they get burnt out because of it. But here it's like she's the excited one, and no one else is ready to be excited with her, which is so heartbreaking. Like, if my family told me to calm down when I talked about getting my wedding dress and taking my engagement photos, like milestone moments in your life, core memories in the making, I would literally be like, you're canceled. You're not mom anymore. I'm going to go find a new mom because what the heck? Like, I would want my mom to be even more excited. Like, my mom is almost more excited than I am sometimes about the wedding. So that makes me hurt for her. And like, what, I don't know, like what kind of a family is like, hold off on the excitement. You're getting too excited.
That's
like,
too much.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like, be excited, right? It's okay to be excited. It's okay to be looking forward to your big day. You know, even just say like, oh, I'm so excited for 2024. like, yeah, you should be, right? Like it's important.
Yeah.
And I think it is that part of just, how to stay present as she is wedding planning, right? I think it is that part of checking in like with her partner. Like, I'm curious like what she means by like being present, because my mind immediately went to the relationship and versus it being like constantly in 2024 headspace. So this part of like, what am I still doing like today? What am I still doing like this weekend?
Yeah.
Versus like only talking about 2024.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's what she meant by
yeah,
staying
like
present.
excited but also grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
I'm not really sure. She doesn't really explain what she even says, a bride once said you can be excited and present while waiting for your wedding, and that really stuck with me. And I'm like, but what does that mean? I don't understand what that means necessarily.
So I think that way, like, like being grounded, right, like in today and in the moment, but still knowing that like this big thing is going to happen.
Yeah, and like maybe it is like this is where your head is all of the time, but it's not where everyone around you is at all the time. And to remember that other people still have real life happening.
Yeah.
Like maybe a child was born, maybe somebody graduated from high school, maybe someone got a new job, and there are other things to talk about besides. Yeah, I think you're right. That's definitely what they're implying here.
Yeah.
But I do love the idea of, I think they just said wedding patience, but wedding planning patience. Like how to stay consistent and not have like these super highs and lows in the wedding planning, I think.
Because I think that can be like a big one of like, we had a really long engagement and in the middle we're like, we also bought a house. So I think it was like our focus was in two big places.
Yeah, I can relate.
And it was like kind of a lot, but I think it was that part of like, let's think of our wedding in 2 years and then do all the big stuff. And then, okay, well, wait a second. We also need to be thinking of all these forms and all this other stuff. So like it was, so I think there was that part of like being excited for the future, but then still being present of like, okay, what
real life
what do we have
happening.
to be getting done right now?
We got bills to pay. We got things to see.
Yeah.
Things to do. Okay. Well, that's all I have for you today, Priscilla. Is there anything else you want to leave with bridal babes on this topic before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think a big one is just like knowing that this is normal. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Like you're not like, we've heard a couple of stories from people online that this happens, right?
Yeah.
So like being able to talk to someone, whether it's Reddit, whether it's with your friends or family or a mental health professional, just someone
slide
to
into my DMs.
Talking about it, because I think it can be even more hurtful if you're having to hold on to it.
And be alone in it. Yeah, for sure.
Because there is that part, that feeling like no one gets it, or this guilt of, oh, I should be happy, right? But I'm not. Like, and what's wrong?
I think there's this common idea of like the burden of being on the bride as well, and you can be anybody. You can be a man planning and in between planning a wedding, but I think there's this common misconception that everything is on that bride's shoulders. And maybe the bride has that in the back of her head, like, oh, I can't express this burden I'm feeling right now because I'm supposed to be doing this. Like, I shouldn't be feeling burnt out.
Right.
Like, I should be Cinderella running around and having so much fun planning my wedding and have no cares and woes in the world. But that's just not life.
Right.
And I think if you're out there thinking you can't feel this way because this is your job right now, you got to remove that. You got to burn that, throw it away, put it in the campfire and melt it away, because you can feel this and you're not alone. Like, this is just a taste of the stories. Like I said, there are so many out there, and we didn't even read the comments from people and what they were saying. So if you guys want to see more, go to Wedding Reddit, literally type in burnout, fatigue, hate this, and you will find so many stories that remind you that you're not alone in this and everything's going to be okay. Yeah. Because the most important part is marrying the person you love. Right. So
remembering kind of what that focus is.
Thank you, Fritz. Now that we're finally wrapping up, you took your seat.
Hi there.
Do you have anything to add, Fritz?
He's like, I love these cuddles.
He's like, get as many cuddles as you can while you're planning your wedding. Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. If Bridal Babes want to find you online, where do they do that?
Yeah, I'm at modernwellnesscounseling.com, and my handle on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok is also Modern Wellness Counseling.
Perfect. Thank you, Priscilla. Yeah. And Bridal Babes, don't forget, the buzz does not stop here. We are releasing episodes every week. So submit your stories, submit your questions, like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and we'll see you next time. So bye.